Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Jennifer Lindgren. Looking for weekend plans? Today marks the start of Restaurant Week for Elmira and Chemung County. Big Fox's Matt Kleindienst visited a few restaurants around town, looking forward to the business this week may bring as we bounce back from the pandemic.
Good evening, Jennifer. Local restaurants in Elmira are rolling out new deals for Restaurant Week. Many are hoping to draw residents for a more normal celebration of local restaurants. Today marked the first day of Chemung Restaurant Week, and local businesses are rolling out special deals for the occasion.
We have a brand new turkey wrap. That is something we haven't done before. That'll be exclusive to this week.
Dinner is a half salad, choice of a couple dinners, and a choice of dessert, and another mocktail.
Hannah Mace with the Elmira Tea and Coffee House hoped to bring in new customers to try their Restaurant Week exclusives.
We want to offer as many options as possible and get people to also try new things.
This year marks the first Restaurant Week with relaxed restrictions since the start of the pandemic, providing a sense of normalcy for Charlie Hunter and his customers at Rye Bar and Restaurant.
It feels great to greet people without masks and gather together and share food and drink together, and it's really wonderful.
After being kept away for most of the pandemic, restaurants hope this week to encourage residents to support local businesses.
Get out there and spread the word that they just did an amazing job. You guys should go check out what they're doing too.
Just remember what it was like to have a free and open economy and everybody being able to socialize together and have fun together.
Matt Kleindienst, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
The first official day of spring is right around the corner, and for many, this is the start of seasonal allergies. Dr. Ramik Nikkei with Guthrie says she begins seeing an influx of patients looking for allergy relief. She recommends allergy sufferers begin taking their antihistamines like Zyrtec and Allegra, along with nasal sprays like Flonase. She also recommends additional steps to take if you plan on being outside.
They can take an extra pill before they're going to go, be outdoors, take their antihistamine half an hour before. When they come back home, change your clothes. Don't keep those on in the house. The other good thing to do is I know people like to keep their windows open, but if you do have significant seasonal allergies, better to keep the windows closed.
If you are unable to get relief from over-the-counter medications, Dr. Nikkei recommends seeing a doctor for allergy testing or possibly allergy shots.
And then we have the Corning Painted Post Hawks
yes.
marching band from New York.
The Corning Painted Post Marching Band took over the streets of Dublin yesterday for the annual St. Patrick's Day Parade. The parade was the culmination of the band's week-long trip to Ireland. Prior to the parade, the students visited various historical sites, including the St. Patrick's Cathedral and Glendalough Monastery. The video of the parade can be found on the Tourism Ireland Facebook page. President Biden holding talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The war in Ukraine a central topic of their conversation. As Madeline Rivera tells us, in recent days there's been growing concern about China helping Russia militarily.
Again today, more refugees pouring into Poland. This comes after another night of assaults on Ukraine's capital.
Is the war against civilians. I doesn't see military people here. It's no military base. It's just apartments from civilians.
Kyiv's mayor addressing an early morning missile attack which leveled a residential neighborhood in northern Kyiv. Homes, schools, all reduced to rubble. At least one person killed, several others, including children, injured.
There was nothing left of the apartment. I'm barely alive myself.
Russian troops now taking aim at Lviv, a city near the Polish border, generally considered a safe area, sheltering some 200,000 refugees.
The enemy's strike against the city of Lviv is another proof that it does not fight Ukrainian troops, it fights the population, children, women, refugees. There is nothing sacred for them.
Ukrainians also flooding out of Mariupol, a city that's been under siege for weeks. Tens of thousands of people escaped over just the last few days, but that's just a fraction of the people still trapped, desperate for life-sustaining supplies.
There's nothing left alive in there. Everything bombed. Where can we return?
Right now, the White House working to help Ukrainian refugees seek asylum in the U.S. Near the Ukrainian border in Poland, Alexis McAdams, Fox News.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov alleges the U.S. has created over 300 biological laboratories around the world, including funding some in Ukraine. Lavrov claimed in an interview Russia will be working with the Biological Weapons Convention, declaring this an international peace and security issue.
Those laboratories have been created by the United States all over the world, more than 300 laboratories in various countries, many of them on the perimeter of the Russian Federation and the former Soviet republics, including Ukraine. Ukraine is probably the biggest project for the Pentagon.
The United States has denied allegations about having labs in Ukraine, calling it Russian propaganda and disinformation. Planning to move soon? Expect to pay a lot more, with gas and diesel prices at an all-time high. As Ashley Soriano explains, moving companies are passing some of those costs onto consumers.
At $5 a gallon, a moving truck like this one can cost up to $1,500 for a single fill-up.
We go through about 1,000 to 1,200 gallons of fuel a day between our whole operation. Every 15-20 cent increase in fuel prices causes a massive increase to our bottom line.
The high fuel prices are forcing companies to adjust their operations. Tom Dodon is the owner of 777 Movers in Las Vegas.
We've had numerous rounds of price increases in the last 2 years. I would say an average out-of-state move has probably doubled in the last 2 years since COVID.
777 Movers serves a lot of California customers and may reconsider some out-of-state requests.
2 or 3 months ago, if a job was 300 miles out of route off a main interstate, we'd be able to service it. Whereas now, maybe we pass on a job and say, or add a surcharge for an out-of-route surcharge, whereas before we could just absorb the cost and just make sure to service the customer.
Maury Kimball is a real estate broker from Salt Lake City. He's moving over 400 miles to Las Vegas. One moving company quoted him $6,000.
Definitely thought of, cutting down the amount of things that I took with me, just taking the bare necessities.
His cross-country move from Atlanta to Salt Lake City 15 years ago cost him under $5,000. That's because he says truck rates and gas prices weren't as high as they are now.
I think if I were moving coast to coast today, I would consider just selling everything.
Your complete weekend forecast is coming up right after this break.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
All right, thanks again for checking in as we take a look at your local forecast. And just a reminder, spring officially starts this weekend. The vernal equinox will happen on Sunday, and at that point, the sun's most direct rays will be shining over the equator and on its way into the northern hemisphere, so we will have more direct light now over the next several months as we approach summer, of course. Now, at the equinox, typically, globally speaking, we have equal day and equal night, and for us here locally, of course, that's almost 12 hours of daylight. That's what we've been dealing with here over the last couple of days and even the last couple of weeks. Here is the view from Binghamton at the National Weather Service. Lots of sunshine. The clouds, of course, thickening up through the afternoon. Those high wispy clouds in advance of the storm system we're expecting to develop tonight and into this upcoming weekend. So as you notice, the radar and satellite picture from earlier today showing those high wispy clouds moving in from the south and west. Saturday, at least the morning low of 52, well above our average of 24. Sunrise at 7:11, and then our daytime high on Saturday, even with the shower and thunderstorm chance, will be almost 20 degrees above average at 65. Again, 46 is where we typically should be, and 7:18 is our sunset. So showers and thunderstorms on Saturday, some of which could be a little bit on the strong side, and then on Sunday we're still going to be dealing with some wraparound, lingering light rain chances. We'll be falling back down to 47, so a little bit on the cooler side
after a milder day today and a milder day tomorrow. So showers and thunderstorms develop tonight. We could see a couple of isolated strong storms Saturday with locally heavy rains. Again, a few leftover showers on Sunday. But here comes the sun on Monday with another chance of rain and snow during the second half of next week. Now, the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted our area under a slight risk of severe weather. It looks like damaging winds will be the most likely threat. But tonight, again, just a few rain and rumbles of thunder. That pushes out of the region. So we will start off on a bit of a dry note. We get some daytime heating. And if enough daytime heating can get going, that secondary line of thunderstorms develops again late in the afternoon, early evening with some isolated severe weather concerns. And then we still will have some wraparound showers, maybe even mixed in with a few wet snowflakes here and there across the region. Now, here's just an outlook on how much rain we could see through the weekend, quarter to a third of an inch. I said at half-inch amounts, but locally heavier amounts when those where those thunderstorms develop. But we're at 52 tonight with some showers and thunderstorms pushing through the region. Again, we should wake up to a little bit drier weather as that first wave of thunderstorms moves on through. But then Saturday during the day, another round of thunderstorms will be developing, and we are expecting, again, some of those into the afternoon, second half of the day, to be a little bit on the strong side. We'll, of course, keep you up to date on that. But 54 on Monday as that next storm system moves in next week.
The Russian invasion of Ukraine is leading to anti-Russian bias here in the U.S., with more Americans taking out their anger on Russian-owned businesses across the country. Kevin Cork has a look at the escalating economic tensions and their effects on those opposing the war, plus why Congress is eyeing even tighter sanctions overseas.
As the Russian invasion of Ukraine intensifies overseas, here in the U.S., Russian-owned businesses are facing severe backlash over Vladimir Putin's decision to wage war.
Business down a little bit, like 20 to 30 to 20% down.
But the anti-Russian sentiment isn't just causing Americans to boycott Russian-owned stores and products, with many business owners now experiencing an increase in threats.
Received a call like 3 calls a week, 4, 2, and they start cussing, they start yelling.
This resentment is causing confusion for Russians living in America who don't support the conflict in Ukraine.
We all live here, we escaped all this madness there, and we'll get along.
Meanwhile, the war is also crippling Russian businesses overseas, with more sanctions expected soon, as the House voted Thursday to suspend normal trade relations with Russia.
They cannot just go kill a bunch of people, destroy cities, kill women and children, and then go back and have business as usual.
But economists say imposing greater sanctions may only hurt Russians opposing the war instead of those engaged in the fighting.
The question that we don't know the answer to is what difference, if any, does that make to Vladimir Putin?
Russian-owned businesses here in the U.S. say sanctions are actually hurting their stores, making it much more difficult and more expensive to import the goods they need. I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
PayPal will now be allowing its users to send money to Ukrainians in their country, as well as those who are now refugees across Europe. Previously, people in Ukraine were only able to use the payments platform to send money out of the country. They'll now be able to receive funds as well as make transfers within Ukraine and abroad. It's the latest measure by banks and other financial services companies looking for ways to help Ukrainians impacted by Russia's invasion. The IRS is telling Congress they'll get it done and in this year when it comes to the backlog of tax returns. IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig told Congress Thursday that the federal tax agency should be able to complete the giant pile of previous tax returns by the end of the year. Recently, the agency pledged to hire 10,000 new workers to process 20 million remaining returns. Rettig said the IRS is hugely understaffed, with 20,000 fewer workers than in 2010 and 20% of the workforce unable to work for pandemic reasons. Its budget is also 20% less than in 2010. A Washington senator is pushing for an extension to the student loan payment pause. College grads with loans might be able to take a deep breath. The Biden administration could be extending the loan forgiveness to at least 2023. This comes after Senator Patty Murray suggested an extension in order to fix the system. One change the Education Department is looking into is to finalize a new income-based repayment plan. Any decision by the White House to either extend, cancel, or continue with student loan repayments must be made by May 1st. That's when the current pause reaches deadline. Still no relief for American consumers as supply chain issues combine with the war in Ukraine to create the perfect storm for American consumers. Jeff Flock has the latest on oil prices and what to expect in the coming weeks.
It takes me like $64 to fill my tank now. It used to only be $28.
Oil prices are rising again, and that could mean more pain at the pump. AAA saying that the national average is just over $4.27 a gallon now, down from $4.29 yesterday, but still near record highs. And with prices expected to remain close to those levels in the short term, at least 22 states are considering suspending their gas taxes, calling it the best way to protect the economic recovery.
We're coming into spring and summer months where we want people to get out on vacation.
Crude oil prices shooting up to near $110 a barrel early Friday, continuing the whiplash that started with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which sent oil up to $140 a barrel before falling to less than $100. Fed Chair Jerome Powell saying earlier this week that the volatility is expected to intensify in the coming weeks, putting more inflationary pressure on the economy.
You're looking at higher oil prices, higher commodity prices. It'll be so that we think that will weigh on GP to some extent.
It's already having a big impact on grocery prices, which are forecast to increase by 6% this year. Some families say they are struggling to keep food on the table, and they're asking for more help from the government.
You need to feed your kids, and you can't. Sometimes I don't think they understand really what's going on, but they need to eat. So we're just trying to balance things out.
Gas station owners set their prices based on what they think the fuel costs for them will be going forward. And right now, those expectations are pretty high. In Abington, Pennsylvania, I'm Jeff Flock, Fox Business.
Volkswagen is recalling more than 246,000 SUVs due to unexpected braking. Faulty wiring harnesses can make them brake unexpectedly, sometimes while they're in traffic. The recall comes after about 50 people complained to U.S. safety regulators about the problem, some reporting nearly being rear-ended by other vehicles. The recall covers certain Atlas SUVs from 2019 through 2023 and Atlas Cross Sports from 2020 through 2023. Documents say the electrical contacts on a wiring harness can corrode, interrupting electrical connections. The problem can also cause side airbags to deploy late in a crash. VW doesn't have a fix yet, but owners will get letters starting May 10th. An 18-year-old is under arrest in California, accused of shooting a man with a gel bead pellet gun. Now police are investigating whether or not the attack may have been inspired by the viral TikTok Orbeez challenge. Myra Franco tells us how a prank may have turned into a crime.
These types of activities are not acceptable. Racial slurs are not acceptable. There is a consequence for doing these types of things.
Police say 18-year-old Jordan Albuquin of Clovis is now behind bars, accused of carelessly shooting a person with this toy gun and carrying out a hate crime. A Hispanic man told police Albuquin yelled a racial slur at him before firing Thursday morning. The man was hit twice in the face and shoulder and called police immediately. Then the accused shooter sped off.
Officers arrived in the area very quickly and were given a good description of the vehicle. The officers that initially got there were able to locate the vehicle driving away recklessly.
Inside the truck, police say they found a plastic-painted gel blaster. That prank turning into a crime. Police say 3 were involved, but only 1 will face consequences. Police say the crime could have been inspired by a new TikTok trend called #Orbeez Challenge. It encourages people to shoot at each other or strangers with water bead guns.
Right now there has been some things on social media regarding these types of events. These are very dangerous. We don't suggest that anybody does it. And also the fact of yelling racial slurs at somebody is not acceptable.
Police say the victim was not seriously hurt.
So there's a misdemeanor charge for doing this type of event, but it's also very dangerous. Somebody could be struck in the eye, they can be severely injured.
We want to leave you with a smile. Celebrate spring with free ice cream from Dairy Queen. Spring is just around the corner. And thankfully, so is Dairy Queen's Free Cone Day. The ice cream chain is bringing back its annual ice cream giveaway after canceling the event for 2 years due to the coronavirus pandemic. Dessert lovers can show up at their local DQ shops on Monday, March 21st to redeem their free ice cream cone. The freebie is good while supplies last and is only good for one small vanilla soft serve cone per person. Each cone does come with Dairy Queen's iconic ice cream curl on top. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day.